Well, good morning. It is good to be with you this morning. It's good to be here. I want to say good morning to all those that are listening online to our podcast. I want to say hello to those that might be watching on YouTube. I got a text yesterday, somebody that's going to be out of town wanting to know how they live stream. We're not there yet, but eventually we'll be there. So we're still a little tape delayed. So you have to download and or you have to get on YouTube. The best way to do that, if you ever had trouble, the app doesn't take you there. The app is really easy to get the podcast, but you have to go to the website, go to the YouTube channel, and then you can watch on YouTube, and that's a good way to kind of keep up. If you're out, we realize you guys have crazy schedules and you travel a lot, and there's all kinds of different things that you have, so it's a wonderful way to keep up because we do a series. And sometimes you kind of come in, if you haven't been here in a couple of weeks, you kind of come in, it's like coming in the middle of the movie. It's like, wow, this would be, I'd like to hear. And I realize, because, every time you come to church, and this is the way it always was for me, certainly for my wife, is you come to church and you hear something, you're like, man, I wish she were here. I wish he could see this. I wish he could hear this. So it gives you a wonderful opportunity to be able to go back, catch up, and have those messages there. So we're very glad to do that, and I've been humbled at the feedback that I've gotten from those that have shared in that, and how effective that has been. Last week we started looking at a question: what matters most? As a part of our ongoing series, being in God's family, and the importance of being in God's family, and we begin to ask ourselves the question: what matters most? And today I'm going to really focus that. I want to really focus that message to one particular word. And that one particular word that we're going to focus on today more than anything else is time. Okay? And here's the thing. When I say time and how do you spend your time and what kind of time do you have, this is another word that always jumps on top of that. And I realize some of you guys are retired. Some of you are newly retired. And as I always tell my dad, you retired people kill me. Because I just love watching you, because, I go out in the morning. I go out in the morning, I've got a million things on my mind, and I'm screaming down the hill, and I'm heading, and I always, especially this time of year, because my grandmother, she used to have these two porch swings on her front porch in McHenry, and Dad's got one of those swings, and he's got it on his deck. And so when I go out in the morning to work, I always look out the corner of my eye. And this time of year, when it's warm and he's always out there on that swing with a cup of coffee, and he just smiles and he just waves. Okay, I love you retired people, because it's just great. It gives me hope. But anyway, when you think about time, one of the first things that we hear when we think, well, what are you going to do with this, or how are you going to get this done? And in our mind, we're thinking, I don't have time for that. I just don't have. There's not enough hours in the day. Okay, I'm gonna give you some hours, and I want you to just kind of set this in the back of your head as we go through this message and think about this. In your week, you have 168 hours. If I did the math right. If I didn't, I'm sorry. Okay. 24/7. You say, well, I go 24/7, 24/7. So you got 168 hours, and if you sleep 8 hours, and I know you don't, I can look at you right now and tell you didn't get 8 hours last night, and especially if you're in an 8:30 service, there's no way. And so that's 56 hours. Okay. So you take that out, and that leaves you with 112 hours. Okay. Leaves you 112 hours. If you work 40, okay, if you work a 40-hour full week, that still leaves you 72 hours. You say, well, I got 2 jobs. Okay, so you take 80 hours out of that. Take 80 hours out of your work week, and that still leaves you 32 hours. You still have 4.5 hours a day to do something with that God has given you. And that doesn't count 8 hours of sleep, which I know you don't get. Okay, so you have time. All right, you have time in your week. Think about that for just a minute. Just set that in the back of your mind. The amount of hours that you're going to get starting tomorrow until this time that we come back next week. How are you going to spend the time that you have? Because this is something that you need to realize. That's one of your most precious things that you have. All right? That they say, and I've heard this a lot, and some of you guys will know this and recognize this. They say if you want to find out what a person's priorities are, you look at how someone spends their money and how they spend their time. And for me, time is more precious than money because we can make more money. Okay? We can do things to generate more cash. But guess what? God has given us a set number of hours. Okay? There are only so many hours in the day, and we have to sleep. So the time that we have is it's a resource that we can't expand. We can't change that resource. We can't make any more of it. We only have what we have. So when I ask somebody where they spend their time, or when I observe someone and see how they spend their time, that tells me a whole lot about what their priorities are in life. Because time is our most precious resource. The more time you give to something, the more you then reveal its importance and its value to you. When you give somebody your time, when you give someone your time, you are giving something to them, okay? You're giving something to them that you'll never get back, okay? You can't get that back. If you sit down and spend an hour with a conversation with someone, that's an hour that you have given to that person, and you can't make that back. You can't earn that back. You can't bank that somehow and make it up there. You cannot, okay? You cannot get that time back. So when you give time to someone, it's the most precious thing that you have. It's the most precious thing that you have because you can't get that back. You can't make it back. You can't earn it back. You only have so much. Your time is your life. Your time is your life. And that is why the greatest gift that you can give somebody is your time. It's your time. And man, don't we get frustrated when someone wastes their time? Okay? When somebody wastes their time, that just really frustrates us, don't it? We wait on things, we wait on people, and so you're sitting there, and I used to count the minutes that I sat at a stoplight in Bowling Green. Okay, when I was in school at Western, I would count the minutes that I sat at a stoplight because it frustrated me so much because I grew up in Ohio County, okay? And we don't sit at stoplights very long here. But if you've ever been on Scottsville Road, you spend a lot of time sitting at a stoplight. And that's nothing close to California. That's just Bowling Green. But it just wear me out. Okay, I lived out by Greenwood Mall, and I could almost. As a matter of fact, we wound up moving to Morgantown because I finally told Sandy, I said, I can drive. Okay, at least I'm doing something. Okay, at least I'm moving. I can drive from Morgantown to Bowling Green on the other side faster than I can get through all the stoplights because it just frustrated me so much because when I had valuable time, okay, that was being used up, and when someone uses up our time, it frustrates us. It frustrates us. When we tell somebody that our relationship with them is important, we have to prove that. Okay? I want to turn with you to 1 John. 1 John chapter 3. John kind of helps us here to understand the importance of this and the importance of what this means. 1 John chapter 3, and it's verse 18. This is what he says. He says, "Dear children, let us not love with words or tongue. Let us not love with words or speech, but with actions and in truth." You see, telling someone that we love them, telling someone that we care for them, telling someone, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, honey, I love you, honey. It has to be backed up, doesn't it? Okay? It has to be backed up. You demonstrate the way that you feel. You demonstrate the things that you do by the actions. And here's the thing. If your most valuable commodity, if your most precious asset that you have is your time, then someone knows how much time you're giving to them. Okay, Dr. Gary Chapman says that in the 5 love languages, if you've ever done this study. If you haven't and you're married, you really, really need to. It'll help you a lot. One of the 5 love languages is quality time. Okay? Quality time. Not just time. Not just being in the room. Okay? Not just being in the room. Not just being in the house. Okay? It's quality time. Engage. It's the actions that you do. It's the actions that you do. That's what makes the difference. Relationships take time and they take effort, and the best way that you can spell love is Time. It takes an investment of your time. It takes an investment of your time. I get these calls, I get these text messages from time to time from frustrated wives. Or I get a text message or a call from a frustrated husband, and they'll say, it's not going good, and we'd like to sit down and talk, and all these kinds of things. And I'll begin to probe a little bit, begin to ask some questions, and what I begin to find is, what's going, I'm working 7/12s and all these kinds of things, and then I want to do this and I got to do that, and then it just gets frustrating, and the next thing you know, we're fighting, and then you have an issue, and then here it all is. Okay? Time, the time that we spend. The essence of love is not what we think or do or provide for others, but how much we give of ourselves. This is a lot of times I see the mistake that a lot of guys make. This is something I hear a lot. I hear this when I get those calls. I just don't get it. Okay? They'll say, I don't get it. I work all the time. They've got everything they want. Okay? They got everything they want. They got, I take care of their stuff, and they got all the clothes they want and whatever purses they want to buy and all these kind of things, and yet they're not happy. What more could they want? I'll tell you what they want. They want you. They want you. They want you. They want you. They want your eyes. They want your ears. They want your time. They want your attention. They want your presence. They want your focus. They want your time. There's nothing that you can buy. There's no thing that you can do that takes the place of you. Nothing. There's nothing that you can do that can take the place of you. They want your time. They want to be with you. They want you to communicate to them that you love them by spending time with them. The most desired gift of love, folks, is not diamonds. It's not roses. And it's not chocolate. It's time. It's time. It's focused attention. Focused attention. That doesn't mean you're in one room watching football and you're just in the house for the weekend. Okay? It's focused attention. Focused attention. And you know what? You have to determine what that attention looks like. You have to figure that out. Attention says, I value you enough to give you my most precious asset, and that is my time. Okay? And here's the thing: when we have kids, and for those of you, because this is kind of a twofold. If you're in the family situation, if you have a spouse, if you have a husband or a wife, and you're trying to focus their attention on them, then you have to know that person, and you have to do those things. And if you have kids, then those kids have certain interests. They have certain bends. They have certain things. And see, when you're young and you have kids, then you tend to want to channel your interest in the things that you do to your kids. And that doesn't always transfer easily. Okay? It doesn't always transfer easily. I love to hunt and fish. Okay? I love the outdoors. It's one of my passions. I love to be in a deer stand. I like to be in a boat. I like to be in a duck boat. I like to be in a goose pit. That's where I like to be. I enjoy doing this. When I've got spare time or when I've got extra time, I love it. Okay? I love doing those things. I have a daughter who's 20 who does not. Okay? She does not enjoy the outdoors. The outdoors is not her thing. And when she was real small, I put her in a car seat. Okay? I put her in a car seat in my old Bronco, and we went out to test guns, and she would wear her big earphones, and she would stick her fingers in her ears. She had no desire to do those things. She didn't like it at all. And I remember one particular, this is where it finally clicked for me. I was very passionate about duck hunting when I was just out of college and in school, and Taylor was born. This is about 97, 98. And when duck season would come in, it was just like, I told you all about this a couple of weeks ago. It was just like total focus, from Thanksgiving until the end of January. It was just like every moment of my time, it was just totally focused on. I was a field editor for waterfowler.com, and I was just constantly, I'm serious. I'm on the internet. I'm reading migratory reports and all these things. And it's like, who is this guy and where is he at and what's going on? And so it's all these things. And so one afternoon, I was like, okay, I got to have some family time. So it's like, okay, let's go duck hunting. So I get Taylor and I get Sandy and we get in the duck boat and I put it in the Green River, and I haven't seen a duck in a week, okay? And we're just floating down Green River. It's kind of a nice, it's January, but it's one of those warm days. El Nino, couldn't get, I'm sitting there going praying for winter and praying for weather in the winter that wasn't, and those kind of things. And we're floating down Green River, and all of a sudden I look in the corner of the river. There's this little nook up in this little slough, and there's a mallard, drake, greenhead. And I'm like, all the air just kind of went out of me. It's like, oh my God, it's a duck. Okay? And so I'm like, everybody down. And so we're trolling motor, and we're creeping in, and we're drifting in on this duck, okay? And we get in, okay? And Danny Young, the words in the back of my mind are thinking, is it legal to shoot a duck on the water? Okay? And Danny told me one time, he said, I think it's legal, but it's not really ethical. At that time, I was not thinking about ethics, Danny. I just wanted that duck dead, okay? And so I got up there close, and I thought I was in range, and I put the bead on that duck's head, and boom, bam, I hit him, and orange feet flipped up. And I was like, yes, I killed the duck. And so I go in, and I pick him up, and I set him in the boat. And I'm like, got him. And so we're just floating down the river, and I'm sitting back there, killed this duck, Taylor's sitting in the boat. About 10 minutes passes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and I'm just enjoying the moment, Taylor looks down and says, Daddy. I said, yeah, hon. She said, is he going to be okay? I said, no, honey, he's dead. She's like, it was the last duck hunting trip she ever went on, okay? It's the last duck hunting trip I ever invited her to go, okay? We didn't ever do that again. And here's the thing, okay? Here's the thing. This is what I learned on that trip down the river. That was not her thing. And God made me realize at that point she was really small, okay? She was really small. She was about 6, 7 years old. And this is what God kind of impressed on me at that moment. You can do this for the rest of your life. But you've only got about 14 more years with her. You've only got about 14 more years with her, and she don't like this kind of thing, okay? You're kind of nuts, but she don't like it. And so it's not her thing. And you can do this when she's gone as much as you want, but not now. I haven't bought a duck stamp in probably 3 years. And it's not because, I stand here and say, well, you got to quit doing this or you got to quit doing that. But for me, when I looked at that moment and I looked at Taylor and I said, this is a different season of life. I'm in a different season of life. And she and I are going to have to do things together, and we're going to enjoy our time together. And I'm going to set this over to the side for now, and I'm going to focus my time and my attention on her because this is not her thing. Now, the one I've got coming now, she's a little different, okay? She has a bit of a different bend, and so we have to think about it a little bit differently. But Jesus modeled for us the way we spend our time. If you would turn to Ephesians chapter 5. Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 2, if you've got that, or if you've got your YouVersion on your smartphone, you can zoom in. And this is what Paul says to us. He says, be imitators of God, therefore, as dearly loved children, and live a life of love. Live a life of love, just like Jesus did. Just as Christ loved us, and He gave Himself up for us as a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God. Walk in the way of love. Sometimes we have to sacrifice things. Sometimes we have to give up things in our life, things that we enjoy, things that we like to do, because it's that time. Because it's that time. And that's the sacrifice that we need to make. John 3:16 tells us that for God so loved the world that He gave His one and only Son. That was the sacrifice. That was the sacrifice, that He gave His one and only Son, that whoever believes in Him would not perish, but would have eternal life. He understands what it means to sacrifice. He understands what it means to give up. Love means giving up. Love means giving up some things. Love means yielding my preferences, yielding my comforts, yielding my goals, yielding my security, yielding my money, my energy, most importantly, my time for the benefit of someone else. You remember that 112 hours I was talking about that we get? You see, when I'm not teaching school, that segment of time is a whole lot more. And I used to take my Christmas breaks and my snow days and all those things, and they wouldn't see me. They wouldn't see me. If that call came in, no school, before daylight, gone. Okay, gone. In the goose pit. There I sat all day long, watching a frozen sky. Dark would come. Back home. Okay, I missed a lot of days. When Taylor was just 95, 96, 97. When she was just 1, 2, 3 years old, I spent a lot of those winter days in a frozen hole that I wish I had back. Okay? Now, she and I have spent a lot of time together, and so I don't have regrets. But when I think back on it now, I would have done things differently. I would have done things differently. There would have been a few more rocking chairs. There would have been a few more storybooks. There would have been a few more Barney movies. Okay? I would have spent some more time holding on to her. Because now, 20 years later, looking back, I got my whole life left. I can go sit in a frozen hole all I want to because I won't have those kids there. It's a season of life. It's a sacrifice that we make. Love means giving up things for the benefit of someone else. It's what Jesus did for us. It's what Jesus did for us. The best time to love is now. The best time to love is now. You see, sometimes procrastination is a legitimate response to a trivial task. All right? When we just don't want to do something, we'll put it off. Okay? We'll put it off. We'll put it off. We'll put it off. But when we are trying to put off the time that we spend with our loved ones, that's not trivial. Because love is what matters most. It takes top priority. The Bible gives us this several times. In Galatians, in chapter 6, Galatians chapter 6 says this, verse 10. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially to those who belong to the family of believers. As we looked at the second part of this last week, but this time, as we have opportunity, okay? As you have the time, and you have all the time, you have to choose how you're going to use it. Back over in Ephesians chapter 5, the next verse here, or back up a couple verses, in verse 16. It says this, making the most of every opportunity. Making the most of every opportunity. You see, that's huge. Will you be able to do that? Some of you guys have got little ones. Some of you haven't had them yet. Okay? Some of you haven't had them yet. Some of you got grandbabies. Okay? And so I look forward to that time in my life. Okay, because that's exciting. Because when they come, then it's like, I'm going to make the most of every opportunity. You think about that differently, don't you? Okay? You think about it differently. You think about, you spoil your grandkids, right? Okay. I was on the phone with Troy Richards one night, and he walks in the house, and his grandson Finn is screaming and crying. And so he just stops talking to me, and he says, what's wrong with him? And I hear Kim in the background say, his throat's sore, Papa. He needs a milkshake. He said, I'll be right back. And then further in the house, I hear Katie in the background, Finn's mama, say, who are you people? Okay, what happened to shut up and go to bed? All right? No, it's a milkshake right now. All right? You make the most of every opportunity to love those kids. You see? You do it differently, don't you? If you got grandkids, you do it differently because you realize it goes just like that. Okay? When you're young and the kids are babies, you're sitting there going, I'll never sleep again. I'll never sleep again. I will be beating my head against the roof of my car, buckling a car seat for the rest of my life. You just see no end to it. It seems like it's going to happen forever. And then you turn around and it's gone. And it's gone. And then when they come back as grandkids, you're like, this is not going to last very long. This is going to be a blink of an eye. Changes, doesn't it? The perspective. So listen to those that are telling you that. If you're in that place where you think this is going to go on forever, I've got opportunity to do this. No, you don't. It's going to go by quickly. So make the most of every opportunity that you have. Why is now the best time to express love? Why is now the best time? It's because you don't know how long you will have that opportunity. Circumstances change. Circumstances change. And people die. Okay? I have people in my life that I miss a lot. You know, you think about those. I cherish those moments that I sat with my grandmother on that porch swing in McHenry. But when I was young, it was like, I don't have time to go down there. I don't have time to go down there. She's been gone since 1996. I had time to go down there, okay? Because those times were going to be gone. My great grandmother passed away in 1995, and she was at 94. She would have been way over 100 today. And I think about those times that I went to work, and I didn't stop. My ag teacher, Mr. Bennett, my goodness, the wisdom that he shared with me and imparted to me, and how many times there in those first few years of teaching that I had to rush home, and I wish I would have turned on Lewis Creek Lane more often and stopped, because the time that I had was limited. The time that you have with people in your life is not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed. Circumstances change, people die, and children grow up. They grow up. When Taylor first went to college, it was like, okay, I'll see you Friday, right? I'll see you Friday. I'll see you Friday. I'll see you Friday. I don't see her Friday anymore. Unless I go to Bowling Green. That's what I did Friday. I'm going to Bowling Green. Why? Because when she loaded up her car back on August the 15th, she said, I'll be home Labor Day. Labor Day? That's September. This is August. What do you mean Labor Day? I'm busy. I got all this. Got work to do. Got people. I'm like, wow. Could you come to church once? Maybe try to get her back. You see, kids grow up. They just grow up. Grow up. And she is working for the Lord. And she just loves it. She just loves it. I was so proud this week. She moved out of the dorm and she moved into a house, and they had their first party. Okay? Had their first party in their house, and she was able to post it on Facebook, because at midnight they're sitting around the room. If you didn't get a chance to see it, they're sitting around the room, and your kids were at the party too, and they're sitting around singing worship songs and praising God. And I know all those kids, and I'm just like, that makes a dad's heart feel pretty warm. Makes a dad's heart feel pretty warm to know that your child had a party at her house, but she posted it on Facebook to show the world that they were praising the Lord. How awesome is that? You have no guarantee of tomorrow. And if you want to express love, you need to do it now. You need to do it now. And here's some questions I'm going to leave you with today to ponder and think about this week. Who do you need to start spending more time with? Okay? Who do you need to start spending more time with in your life? What season of life are you in? Okay? What season of life are you in? Do you have grandkids? Is it a child that's about to graduate? Is it a newborn? Okay? Who do you need to spend more time that's in your life right now? Is it an aging grandparent? Is it someone that's in bad health? I think back to my papa. He died in 1985, and I didn't spend as much time as I wished I had have spent in his house while he was dying with cancer, because I was afraid. I wish I had spent more time with papa. I had more questions for him. I have questions all the time now. I wish I'd spent more time with my grandmother. I think now, I was like, I wonder who, and then I can't ask her anymore because she's the only one who knew the answer to that question. She's gone. Who do you need to spend more time with in your life right now? And here's the next big one. What do you need to cut out of your schedule to make that happen? All right? Because I know what you're thinking. He told us we had hundreds of hours, but he's just a lying preacher because I don't have hundreds of hours, okay? I know my schedule. I don't have time to breathe. My yard's growing up. I can't get it done. You got to look at my house, okay? If you ever come out of my house, you say, this guy's an ag teacher. He's just landscaping. Are you serious? It's a forest project, okay? We're doing some weed ID, so I just grow them that way so we can learn those things. You see, what do you need to cut out of your schedule to make that happen? I'm in single digits to retirement, and this is really bad because this is kind of one of my things now because I see all these things that I need to do, and I find myself saying, can that wait 5 or 6 years? Okay? Because if it can, I'll just let it wait because I got other things that I'm focused on because I know in 6 years Kayla is gone. I know in 6 years she's going to be grown and gone, and I'll take care of that fence row then. I'll take care of this then. There's some things that I have to cut out of my schedule. And I'm sure there's people that would come and look at my life and say, you've got to put more attention on this. Well, you don't know who I am, okay? Because these are my priorities, and my kids and my family are my priorities. And sometimes we got to cut things out of our schedule to make that happen. You got to ask that. And here's what it's going to take. It's going to take sacrifice. It's going to take sacrifice. It's going to take saying, you know what? I'm not going to do that right now. I'm not going to spend time doing that right now. It's sacrifice. Okay? It's sacrifice. For me, back then, it was all the time that I spent hunting and fishing. And I loved it. And I still go. All right? I still go. I still get out. I just don't do it as much as I did. I had to make some sacrifices. I had to say, you know what? I'll do it. I had a kid come in the other day and say, hey, we're going to North Dakota on fall break. You want to go with us? We got, come on. And I'm like, no, I've only got 5 more. I've only got 5 more fall breaks with my daughter. Okay, so we're going to go where she wants to go. And then I'll go live in North Dakota for the month of October if I want to. You see, it doesn't matter. Right now, I've got to sacrifice those opportunities for what's important. I had to put that out. What do you need to cut out of your schedule to make that happen? The best use of life is love. The best use of your life, the best use of your life is love. And the best expression of love is your time and how you spend it. The best expression of love is your time and how you spend it. And the best time to do that is now. Let me pray for you. Father, this morning, help us to just look on our hearts and ask ourselves the question, who's getting cheated? Who in my life is getting cheated by my own selfishness, the things that I want to do, the things that are important to me? And help me, Lord, to just evaluate those that are around me and ask those questions. Who do I need to be spending more time with right now? Who do I need to be spending more time with right now? And now that I know who that is, what's that going to take? What's that going to look like? What's that going to mean? What kind of sacrifice am I going to have to make in order to make that happen? It needs to happen now. It needs to happen now. Father, you know where our hearts are. You know what we need to do. Maybe someone needs to come to this altar this morning and just lay down some selfishness. Father, it's okay to have interests. You know that. You wired us that way. You wired me to be outside. You wired me to love the things that I do. But you also wired me that way so that I would choose to spend time with you. That I would choose and have the opportunity to make the choice to serve you gave me kids. You blessed me, Lord. Then you gave me the opportunity to make choices. We all make mistakes. Father, I just pray that we realize that it's not about regret. It's about change. It's about looking into the future. It's about looking to tomorrow and doing it better. You know what decisions we need to make. You know where we are. Maybe there's someone here that just needs to ask Jesus in their heart for the first time. They just need to make that a priority. They've put it off because they're too busy. You know where we are. You know the decisions we need to make. I pray now, Father, you would guide us in this time of invitation and reflection. Help us to respond the way you would have us. We pray it. We ask it in Jesus' name.